The strategy is to try to do 1 and 2 on the race to come back on the manufacturer championship.
Are you a little bit worried with the speed and the ease that Norby took the boys, or certainly Muller, in the opening race?
Yes, for sure we were a little bit surprised. And
he made it look a little bit like you guys did last year.
yeah. But okay, you know, with 80 kilo weight, it's a little bit difficult for us, but it will be better now, I think.
Great stuff.
Well, certainly Ivan Muller was caught absolutely cold by Norbert Michaelis with a last lap lunge around the outside of the turn 3-4 hairpin sequence, and he not only got by Muller, but he also got initially by Lopez as well, who then re-took the spot. And Muller and Lopez will start first and third. Alongside them on the grid, alongside Muller will be Nicky Katzberg in the larder. He will start on the outside front row. But our DHL pole sitter for the main race here in Slovakia is 4-time World Touring Car champion Ivan Muller. He produced a lap of rare brilliance in Q3 yesterday, an astonishingly quick lap. However, it could have been even eclipsed by the larder of Nicky Katzberg, and that would have been Larder's first ever outright pole position.
Absolutely, and ironically slightly robbed by, as we were saying earlier, Jose Maria Lopez, Ivan's teammate. But the impressive thing about Ivan's lap was it was with 80 kilos of success weight, and that makes the car very, very difficult to drive. It's going to be an interesting dynamic in this race, because I expect the Citroens to get away well and to be strong in the first part of the race, but I think that they'll probably start to struggle with tire wear towards the end. Having said that, it's Nicky Katzberg starting P2, and from what we saw in race 1, the larder doesn't have good race pace either, which isn't related to weight, it's a car setup thing. The Hondas do, but they're starting 4th and 5th with Norby and Huff. And yeah, we'll have to see where they are. But in terms of the Citroen in Bernani's hands at the end of the last race, Thiago, once he got through, was well over a second lap faster.
Yeah, you just saw Thiago on his way to the grid. Montero, the race 1 winner, ahead of this man, Mehdi Bernani, who started on the outside front row of the grid. Got a very good getaway, led 3/4 of the distance before finally Montero managed to get by him. Rob Huff did not, however. Leading the WTCC trophy, that's the independent drivers' points race. Bernani now 13 points ahead of Sebastian Loeb's Citroen teammate Tom Chilton. Tom Coronel in 3rd place. Grégoire de Moustier closes on him in 4th. Philippi, René Munich and James Thompson, the remaining point scorers in the WTCC trophy. So Thiago Montero starting in 7th place. The interesting thing perhaps might be that despite Citroen's dominance over the last 2 seasons, qualifying record before this weekend, 2 minutes 3.73 set by Citroen's Jose Maria Lopez, there he is. Race record for this weekend, 205.74 set by Gabriele Tarquini's Honda last year. So the race lap record set last year by Honda. Now, we heard on the radio that Bernani was quicker in a straight line than the Hondas, and Thiago took, of the 11 laps, he took, what, 8 to get by him? He passed him, I think, on lap 9. So it took him a long time to wear down Bernani's defence, and he only ever had 1 lunge at him. It was Cecil, but it was the only time there was even an overlap between the cars. So there's not much wrong with the Citroen's pace, despite it carrying 20 kilos more weight penalty this race than it ever has done in the past.
The advantage that Citroen have is in straight line speed, and in reality the 2 best overtaking spots on this circuit, probably turn 1 and turn 3, are very dependent on straight line speed. So the Citroen has a great defence mechanism in that sense. You need your opportunity in the middle sector, but it's very difficult. And you know, Huff was in the same car as Montero pace-wise, so 2nd lap quicker at the end of the race, but unable to get past Bernani himself.
Coming to the tail of the grid, you can see Ferenc Fischer, whose car caught fire, and Ted Björk in the Volvo.
Is the track temperature hotter than before? The ambient feels hotter.
Yeah.
According to our measurements, it's almost the same. 1 degree colder, both ambient, both track. Okay, so maybe just inside the car that it's hotter.
Because you just had lunch. 27 degrees, track temperature, 19 degrees of air temperature being registered, and that's probably because the breeze is picking up. It was 20 21 before start of the first race and 26 of track temperature. So the ambient in both has gone up, but the breeze makes it feel a little cooler. Dominic Greiner there in the door of James Thompson's Munich Motorsport Chevrolet. I was trying to add up in my head a little earlier. He's raced Ladas, Seats, Hondas,
Alfa Romeo,
Alphas. What before Alpha, James Thompson? So that's 4. So this is 5th different manufacturer car that he has raced in this championship. He raced 2 different generations, 3 different generations of Lada. 3, 2, red
3
one,
different models.
3 different models of Lada, and for 4 other manufacturer chassis as well. So a wide variety of experience. Ivan Muller, our DHL pole sitter from Nicky Katzberg. Jose Lopez, the world champion and points leader, coming in here last 3rd, ahead of Norbert Milis, the overtaking exponent here. Rob Huff and Thiago Monteiro with Ted Björk Volvo between them. Gabriele Tarquini starts in 8th place, and behind him will be his teammate Ugo Valente. The boot on the other foot there from race 1. Between them, Mehdi Benani, and then 11th and 12th, Chilton and Philippi. Chevrolet for Philippi, and this year, of course, a Citroën for Chilton. Demoustier, his teammate at Sebastian Loeb, ahead of James Thompson, Tom Coronel and Ferenc Fischer. Fischer's car caught fire towards the end of the first race, but it looks as though Zoltan Zengo's crew have not only got it fixed, but got it out on track. Fredrik Ekblom starting at the back of the grid after losing all his qualifying times for missing the weighbridge, coming in at the end of Q2. Vetchen on the final spot on the grid. Decent qualifying from both Volvo drivers, but at the end of Q2 he missed the weighbridge, and that penalty applied for that is to lose all your qualifying times, therefore effectively didn't qualify at all. He starts at the back and behind anyone else with any other kind of problems. Just in front of him you will see Ferenc Fischer, the 19-year-old Hungarian driver in the Zengo Motorsport Honda Civic. That car went off in turn 13, the long ultimate corners gravel trap. A fire under the right rear wheel arch. Something had caught light there, whether it was a little bit of carbon mounting that had broken and something was bumping against the exhaust, heated by the exhaust, or whatever it was. It seems that the team have managed to repair it and they have got the car back out on the grid. At least I'm sure I saw it in the background. Maybe he was coming back and has gone into the pit lane. I definitely saw it. There is the fire. Definitely when we had a long shot of cars coming to the back of the grid, I saw a blue Volvo and a car with lime green highlights, and that is the only car with lime green highlights. So he may well have had to go back into the pit lane, and that means that he's not going to make a grid start, at least. It may be that they've decided that there is still an issue with the car, and rather than risk it here, they're going to try and keep it in one piece so they can take it and race it in Hungary. Tom Coronel was in on the 8th row of the grid in 15 spots, just in front of him, 14th after qualifying James Thompson. Now, you know this car well, having run the Chevy Cruze with Craft Bamboo Racing, but for Tomo, it's brand new, and it's a new team, and you know, trying to find the ultimate balance in a car you've never tested and never driven at all, it's going to be a really tough ask for a driver. Big challenge, and
you know, Tomo's not been in a car for a year really. So to come in here with no testing, a car that he's not driven before, and with a team he's never worked with before, always a really big challenge. But you can see this weekend that the Chevrolet is really struggling. So yeah, kind of everything's inspired against him. But actually, I just saw him very briefly after race 1, and despite not the best race, he's still in good spirits, and he's enjoying himself nonetheless.
Yeah, he's a racing driver. He's back with a family he knows well. This whole paddock is just a large family. He bears no malice to Lada. All the Lada boys have been giving him big handshakes and big hugs because they haven't seen him for a year either, and he's been really an intimate part of the development of that team right from day one. Tomo's been involved in bringing that car up the grid, you know, really consistently. So he's still very much a fan favourite among the team members, and you know, from top to bottom in Lada, they've got the utmost respect for him. So good to see him back. Ahead of him, Gregoire de Moustier and John Philippi in a Chevrolet, of course, and then Tom Chilton just missed out on a top 10 position. If he'd been a fraction quicker in qualifying, he'd have started the opening race from pole position rather than this man, Ugalente, and that could have been a very different look to the weekend then for children, again, like Tomo, brand new to the Citroën last weekend. Even his engineer had never done a day's work on the Citroën when we were in Paul Ricard, so they're learning on their feet as well.
Absolutely, and so Tom, I think, was slightly out of sorts coming into the weekend. He's had a bit of a fever, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's very difficult. You know, Bernani, his teammate here that we're looking at now, he's been with that team for over a year, and everything's working well. Whereas Tom's just at the basics, you know. I mean, at the beginning of his understanding of how to work with his team and how to work with his car. But I'm sure that Tom will get. He's got a lot of touring car experience, and I'm sure that he'll progress throughout the year.
Talking of a lot of touring car experience, plenty of that with Gabriele Tarquini. His young teammates, Ugo Valente and Nicky Katsberg, have been saying, sitting talking to Gabriele, it's like 5 engineers in his head, all kind of producing ideas and thoughts about where to go with the car. And they've just been sitting back taking notes and letting him lead the direction. And it's definitely the case that Lada have made a step forward over the winter. The car is developing and progressing. Of course, brand new at the beginning of the season last year, and not all of them were actually ready to race when they went to Argentina. And so they were sort of on a catch-up all the way through the season. Thiago Monteiro, our opening race winner, starts in 7th place on the grid here. In front of him, he was in the middle of the top 10 for both of the starts this weekend. Ted Bjerg, and Bjerg, again, just missing out on going through into Q3 in the top 5. And for a team in only their 2nd race weekend with a brand new car, with 2 drivers and an engineering department that have never been to this track before, you can't argue with that. They're producing pace from the moment they hit the deck in Paul Ricard, and that's got to give them confidence. For the inevitable lows that will come during the season, they know that they're close, and they've got the opportunity, of course, to improve now from their ground zero.
Absolutely, and the Volvo pace in race 1 was very good, particularly with Bjork, and obviously Ekblom got up into the points from starting stone cold last after missing the weighbridge in qualifying. But I think the most exciting thing about the Volvo is that it's a very, very good base car, but they've also got all the development avenues open to them. Without boring everybody, the regulations for World Touring Car are quite strict in terms of technical development, and basically you get the playing cards called jokers, which allow you to change certain key components on your car and redesign them. So teams like Honda have used all or nearly all of their jokers, whereas Volvo are sat there with a clean hand of things that they can change. So it'll be interesting how that progresses through the year, because I think that they're probably the team that has the biggest scope to be able to develop their car through the year.
Holding all the aces at the moment, though, is Yves Maton. Citroën C-Elysée is still the best car on the grid, and he still has 6 world champions in his 2-driver line. 2, the reigning world champion, of course, Jose Maria Lopez, and Ivan Muller with 4 titles under his belt. But Nicky Katsberg, Ugo Valente and Gabriele Tarquini with the Lada Vesta are definitely going to start shaking the establishment. Katsberg, by rights, should be on pole here on outright pace. Ivan Muller produced a stunning lap. Katsberg, however, was obstructed even minimally. He missed pole by 0.04 of a second. I mean, a year ago, Lada was just hoping that they would get close to top 5 or maybe start the reverse grid pole position. Now, you know, you're kind of expecting to see 1, maybe 2 of them getting through into the fastest cars, the fastest 5 cars in qualifying. Well, he starts outside front row, but it is Ivan Muller who is our DHL pole sitter for the main race.
Представлено такое официальным хронометристом.
Being at the end of the championship, and another good result. Car feels good. I feel good. Making sure everything on the steering wheels. You can probably see my steering wheel's got 1,000,000 buttons on it. I'm not sure what most of them do, but the important ones I do, so that's good. Everything's set in the right place now, and ready for the start. So some fun, kids. Cheers.
Now he's talked to us. His engineer will go back through with him. This setting, that setting, preload, engine mapping, launch control mapping, all the other bits and pieces have to be exactly the right setting for the start, and you may well then have to change them for the race itself. But he will double check and go through that again to absolutely be certain that Rob has got exactly the settings he needs to launch that car perfectly off the line.
Absolutely. The driver's race engineer is very much like his second brain, because there's quite a lot going on at this point, and these guys get into a bit of a focus for the race and start what's going on, and therefore all those sort of bells and whistles that the drivers can discuss with the engineers, it's just another set of eyes, another set of ears, and make sure that nothing's left to chance and allow the driver to concentrate on making the best getaway possible.
Well, there is the Lada garage, there is Yves Martin at the Citroën garage. Ivan Muller on pole, Nicky Katzberg alongside, Jose Maria Lopez third, and on fresher tyres, Norbert Mikulicz fourth, Huff fifth, hoping to jump a couple from the start. Huff, of course, was third in the opening race here. And for Norby, on the left-hand side of the screen, behind that yellow Lada, he's got to get down the inside into the first corner and somehow try and get in amongst those Citroëns if he wants to win this race. He's got to blow by Katzberg, whether Katzberg makes a brilliant start or an awful one, and try and get in amongst the Citroëns, or at least hook up behind them and try and pile on the pressure. Cars are on the grid, the green flag waves, the main race in Slovakia is about to get underway. On the right, pole sitter Ivan Muller, on the left, the ladder of Nicky Katzberg. Red lights are, away they go. Long run down to the first corner. Mikulicz looks outside, he's going to look inside as Katzberg tries to catch up with Lopez, who's made a brilliant start. It will go by Ivan Muller to lead into the first corner. The Hondas are three wide, and it looks as though Huff is in the middle, Montero on the outside. Norby on the inside, little bump with Rob, Montero's got the run, and Katzberg is inside, Muller running down to turn two. This is going to be ballsy from Katzberg to try and stay there. He's got the track position. Muller hangs on the outside but can't hold on, has to just breathe off the throttle or risk running through the gravel trap. Katzberg up to second. That's electrifying start from Lopez, but Katzberg giving himself a great opportunity as he splits the Citroëns. And in fourth place, Iago Montero ahead of Rob Huff and Norbert Mikulicz, and then Tarquini on the grass, and he's going to come alongside Ugo Valenti, doesn't get alongside his teammate. Wow, all arms and elbows in the first couple of corners, dramatic start, but they all got through safely.
What a great gift for Pachito Lopez there, now leading the race, because Katzberg's pace is probably not going to be that great in this first part of the race, which will back up Ivan and the Hondas, which would be the main threat to any chance victory.
Well, the car's running quicker this year than the outright track record in the race from last year. That's a 2:05.7. We're down in the 2:04.3s in the opening race. This race one lap longer. They'll carry a fraction more fuel to the grid as a result. You don't just fill the tank and let them go. Oh, Frederick Ekblom down the inside of John Philippi, and this is the favoured overtaking place in the twisty tight stuff. If you've got a good chassis, that's where you use it. Of course, you need a good brake pedal under you as well. And there's his teammate Ted Björk. So Ekblom ahead of Philippi, who started 12th, Ekblom 17th. So Philippi did not get a getaway. He's now behind Tom Coronel, who clearly has moved up the order a little as well. Well, then 62, that's the blue car of Ted Björk. And a little more relaxed looking Lada pit wall. Nobody's collided with anybody else on the first lap in yellow cars, so that's always good news. And Nicky Katzberg is second, and Ivan Muller is not going to get to him in the first turn. So despite the Citroën's straight line pace, it's a quick little bunny, that Lada out front.
Absolutely, but Lopez has got himself a second lead on that opening lap, and he'll be very pleased to see yellow car in his rearview mirror and not the teammate Ivan.
Yeah, I think he would be very happy to see anybody in his rearview mirror in the opening lap rather than Ivan Muller. Anything between the teammates is always good news for one, bad news for the other. And again for Muller, the imperative now to get a hurry up and somehow find a way past Katzberg from a little too far back is going to be increasing with every metre. This is a long lap, 5.92 kilometres. So getting on for 6Ks, we've got a dozen laps to go, or now 11 laps including this one. So there's a decent distance, but there are still only 3 or 4 genuine overtaking opportunities if the driver in front doesn't throw it into the weeds.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, this race is 1 lap longer, which doesn't sound very much, but as you said, Martin, because this lap is so much longer than the normal circuits we go to, nearly 6Ks, then it does make quite a big difference.
I tell you what, if Thiago could have paid for an extra lap at Paul Ricard in the main race, I'm sure he would have, because I think he would have got by Jose Maria Lopez and won the race. That one, it can make a huge difference. As you say, if you're struggling carrying a lot of extra weight, the further you have to carry it, the more it hurts, whether a human or a car. It doesn't make any difference at all.
Absolutely, and Honda's strength here today is the tyre management and their race pace in those last 4 laps. So it's a bit of a shame for them that they didn't get the rub of the green on that first lap.
Yeah.
There's still a few cars ahead of them, which will make challenging for victory difficult now.
Fastest race lap first time round was from Jose Maria Lopez. Fastest first sector on this lap from Ugo Valente, who's at the back of this queue you're looking at. There's his yellow Lada ahead of Ted Björk's Volvo. They're 7th and 8th, involving cars 10 and 68. Well, that is Nicky Katzberg and Ivan Muller under investigation. Incident?
Don't remember seeing anything that would warrant an investigation.
I think neither of them hit each other.
Maybe we missed something there.
I will take a look in the archive and see if the US guys can find anything, but I certainly didn't see any contact. All right, they were both being ballsy as you like down in turn 2, but there was no contact between them. Let's see what the stewards come up with. They're going to investigate it anyway.
Lopez increasing his lead that time around by another half a second. And he knows that he's going to struggle the last 4 laps, so that's where he's got to build that lead in case the champagne core that is Katzberg pops and some of these quicker cars get through.
Well, ostensibly quicker, in all case he did out-qualify them, and the Lada, he was also fast in free practice too, wasn't he, ahead of the 2 Volvo, so it has got decent pace.
Yeah, but race pace is a different thing, and I think that what Honda showed in race 1 is that they've probably got the fastest race car over the 12 laps.
Katzberg. Well, let's hear from Jose Maria Lopez.
He knows something I cannot leave, I need to pull out. I don't want to risk.
He wants to play, he wants to lift.
I didn't quite get that.
No? Sorry, Winker, don't quite get your banter. Not sure what he needs. Okay, let's watch Ivan, poleman, Nicky Katzberg, the yellow car, on board with Katzberg. Lopez goes through. Katzberg, well, oh, okay, yes. All right, fair enough. Forgotten that. That was 2 laps ago. Where was Katzberg going exactly as Muller came across to the apex?
I think that's a racing incident. It looks like Ivan's sweeping in to try and get back on the back of Pachito.
Where's all the dust? Who's gone off? Has Huffy run over dust? Katzberg on the outside. Lopez. It's Lopez. Lopez kicked up the dust. Lopez ran wide, out of 9 up to 10.
Valente's past Michelitz as well.
And Nicky Katzberg is challenging for the lead. It was out of turn 10 and 11. So Lopez we were watching the first cut. Yes, they go, what happened? We didn't see it either. Lopez is about to be passed on pace, or is he by Katzberg? No, he holds the line into turn 1, and smoking up behind comes Thiago Montero, and Katzberg is still there and drives underneath the Citroen in his Lada. A sentence I didn't think 12 months ago I would ever say.
Where's Muller?
Muller is 8th.
8th.
Okay, we need to see what happened in all of that. There's Muller at the back of the queue behind Ted Björk. So Lopez made a mistake. Wow, let's hear from Lopez.
I don't know what happened. Big vibration in the back.
Okay, so he was complaining about damage to the splitter on the in-lap at the end of the opening race. Suddenly has a big vibration, or had a big vibration. I don't know what happened, which is not, I went off.
Cause and effect though, Martin. I think he may have just made a mistake and then has a vibration. But certainly his race pace before that was not that of somebody that's got a damaged sensor. So.
Okay, best lap 206.6, last lap 209.6.
Yeah, he's definitely had an off.
Yeah, well, we saw the dust, didn't we? And I thought it was further back in the field, and I was looking to see where Huffy got to, or Nobby, or Thiago, or somebody, but he went off, and Muller went off, presumably, at pretty much the same place.
And Muller has obviously had tunnel vision as well, but
Well, the good news for Katzberg, the race leader, no further action. Well, here's Muller, bumps down the inside of Rob. Huff's inside him there, has to avoid that enormous tyre stack that would have written off the car, and Muller's off. So that's what happened with Muller. That's why he went off. Okay, that was fantastic. Yvan Muller bumping and boring his way in, wasn't it? And then gets given as good as he got.
But he'd already lost the position, Martin. We've obviously.
And here's Lopez. No, that's the pass. That's not where he went off. Yeah, right, because he dropped behind and
he was already behind a Honda, so Muller had already lost some ground.
So we haven't got on board from Lopez where he went bouncing across the ground. It was over the bridge somewhere around turn 10. Wow, what a dramatic lap for Sucha. Nicky Katzberg leads and is free of any further penalty. Moment to get our breath back. After 5 breathless laps, what does Jose Maria Lopez think?
I don't know what it is. There is a big vibration on the brake. I don't know what it is.
Still complaining about a vibration that he can't. I don't know what it is, or I don't know if it's the diff. I'm not sure, but again, he's clearly trying to race wheel to wheel at World Championship level and calmly in a back room try and download what he is feeling, translate it into what might be happening, and somehow try and tell the engineers.
Cause effect there. I mean, he may have made a mistake, gone off, and then damaged the brakes.
He ran wide there again, kicking up the dust on the exit.
Yeah, he's obviously struggling with a bit of an issue. This is bringing Montero right into play now as well, because as we know from race 1, his race pace is very, very good.
Yeah.
Once he got the lead in the last race, he was 1.2 seconds a lap quicker, and he didn't have much drop at all with his tyres.
I'm going to ask this now. Who was the last double race weekend winner? It was Lopez.
Was it?
Must have been Lopez. Must have won 2 in the last season or the season before. But Diago has got a chance to do that here. He won the opening race. He's in 3rd. He's less than a second behind Katzberg, the leader, who is not escaping. If he can... Oh, and Valente is out. Valente out of 5th position. He was in the battle with Huff, with Michaelis, with Björk, with Muller, and he is off and out of the race.
He's on the exit of the 5.
It's in sector 2, so that sounds right. It's in all twisty, convoluted corners. Katzberg leads. Lopez is not giving up. Look, he's showing the nose still on the run down the straight.
Again, his straight line speed is the best of those 3 cars, and he's using that to his advantage in this sector of the track.
That weight is not hindering as much in the fast turn 1 or very fast turn 2 as it is in the twisty stuff, and look how much he closes down. He was only 4600s behind at the line. He halves that between the start-finish and corner 2, but now the Lada will start to just creep away. And the question mark now for Lada, Nicky Katzberg, is how will the car work its tyres compared to the pursuers, Lopez, and perhaps more especially Thiago Montero.
Katzberg's pace is starting to drop a little bit. He was only a 2:08 last time around. And as we can see in race 1, Tarquini struggled a little bit as well, slightly flattered by the battling cars behind him. So we know Lada hasn't got a great pace. Montero's definitely licking his lips now at 25 points for the second race.
Yeah. Montero in 3rd, Huff in 4th. They were 3rd and 3rd in race 1. They could easily do the same. And behind Huff is Michaelis. We heard him hoping to try and jump a few, and so too was Huffy. It didn't happen at the start. Certainly got lit up off the line. But a couple of laps in, as Lopez and Muller made fundamental errors, or something went wrong, and they both ended up in trouble, getting past and getting into battles that they really wanted to try and avoid.
Yeah, the big handicap for Montero is his straight line speed. As you can see, once he gets onto the straight, Lopez just starts to edge away again. That makes it very, very difficult for Montero to have any chance of overtaking him on at least 50% of the circuit.
Yeah. Now he closes right in as they get onto brakes for turn 13, and look at the way that the Honda chews the back of the Citroen, but as soon as Lopez picks up the throttle, that tiny increment is going to start to open. It'll be 2 or 3 car lengths by the end of the straight. Katzberg has opened up a little bit more of an advantage this time, 9.7 in front. He opened a half a second on Lopez, and he only needs to do that per lap for 3 or 4 laps, and suddenly it becomes a lot more of a target for Thiago Monteiro.
No question, Lopez struggling to braking now more and more. We can see that into turn 13 last time around. And although Katzberg looks like his pace is okay, he's still a good 1.2 seconds off what he was doing earlier in the race. Now, as we're over the halfway stage, we'll see tyre wear become more and more important to these guys.
Rob Huff starting to get impatient, shows his nose to Thiago Monteiro. Do you want me to go and have a go? I think I might be able to dust up Lopez. Well, certainly Thiago managed to unlock a position to win the opening race. There's Ugo Valente, has finished both races here with a disappointment after starting the opener on pole.
Yeah, big disappointment considering his pace this weekend. I have to say, no points other than what he scored. No points at all.
No points at all, I'm afraid. So, tough weekend for him. Gabrielli had a tough weekend in Paul Ricard. Tarquini is way down the order as well in 15th, won't score here. So as in race 1, the same 2 larders in trouble, and the only other one is now leading this race, not just scoring well, but scoring handsomely. And now you can't see him in the same shot unless we have a longer shot of Lopez versus the Hondas. And here comes Ted Bjerg. Ted Bjerg on board behind Huff is Michelis. But Bjerg is right there as well, not far away. His best race lap, 0.04 of a second quicker than Norby's. He's at the back of this slipstreaming train, so he will stay in touch with this group.
Yeah, already we're only in the second sector, and Lopez has lost second already.
Yeah. Oh, Katzberg running out very wide there. I thought maybe a little too wide, but he still leads. Nicky Katzberg in the yellow larder leads now by 1.2 seconds over Jose Maria Lopez. Pulled out 3/10 on the world champion on that lap, half a second lap before. Katzberg has got his nose to the grindstone. He can't afford to make any mistakes, but he must push with everything the car has got, and just hope that Lopez is as strong in defence as he is in attack, because Lopez needs to hold off Monteiro and Huff and Michelitz. Possibly Ted Bjerg as well.
These guys fighting and flattering Katzberg a little bit. With that mistake on that last time around cost him a second. So those 3/10 quicker, it should have been 0.3.
Yeah. Well, you can only race with what you've got, and that's what Katzberg and Lopez are at the moment. Monteiro may have a quicker car, but where is he going to be able to use it? He's certainly keeping enough distance in front of Huff and Michelis. Norby now in that grey, white and red.
Lopez starting to slide a lot more now. Tyre wear becoming more and more of an issue for him.
A couple of years ago, he was quite happy with an oversteery car, a bit of a tail-happy car. He has finessed up his Citroën driving technique to the extent where he almost never breaks loose, and it's almost always Ivan whose car looks the more of a handful. And any time that Lopez is sliding, you know that he is pushing the car beyond what the owner's manual says will do. Michelitz getting in very deep behind Huff there and having to really compromise that sequence of corners to avoid clattering the back of the number 12 car. On board with Thiago. And you just can see that that Citroën is creeping away. Not by much, but just by enough.
That's the issue, and on the exit of this turn 13, you'll see Monteiro probably start to close up again. Yeah, exactly. So this is the frustrating thing for Monteiro, but it's nothing. It wasn't new from race 1, but he's just hoping that his tyre degradation will get worse in this this final third of the race.
Well, it's a battle now, isn't it? Whether the extra weight wears Lopez's tyres faster, the turbulent air and lack of downforce wears Monteiro's tyres right behind him. It's who runs out of tyre or brake first.
Meanwhile, every lap this is going on, it's really helping Nicky Katzberg.
Yep, 1.15 in front. He was as quick. Lopez was as quick in the first sector, a tenth slower in the second sector, but 3/10 quicker in the final sector. Lopez finds that pace towards the end of the lap.
I don't know. It's so risky. I have to touch. I don't know. I have to run in the ocean, so I only finish it.
Speaking from the bottom of the swimming pool, Jose Maria Lopez, and you know, if we're finding it hard to understand, his engineers will find it probably equally difficult to understand, or they may know what direction they're looking in, and they may just be looking for some confirmation from him whether he can or can't do something for them.
Didn't quite catch what he said, but uncharacteristically, he sounded stressed.
Yeah. And
normally, when Pachito's on the radio, he's very calm, but he sounds pretty stressed.
Well, this is Paul Ricard playing itself out all over again, except Paul Ricard, he's hustling away from Montero almost on his own until the last 2 or 3 laps. Now we've got 3 to go after this, but he's had 6, 7 laps of pressure already. In fact, 9 laps of pressure from Montero already. So he's not been able to drive his own race, sort out his problem. Montero is just like a bull in a china shop. He is just going at it. So he's so close now as they go over the rise down to turn 10. Montero is all over the back of the Sitch, and we're looking back from Huff at Michelitz.
Starting to show his nose a bit more, starting to be a bit more aggressive, Montero. And I have to say, Thiago's a really, really lovely guy, and he's very much a confidence driver. So having won the race before, having sort of been the stronger Honda, by luck or judgment, he's getting that confidence, and you can see he's really got the bit between his teeth.
And last year really turned around his World Touring Car career, because although he ended up somehow behind Gabriel in points, he was so often the quicker of the 2 Honda drivers, the better placed, the more racy of the 2. It just didn't work out in the end, because the final race weekend, that he scored more points than his teammate. And that confidence going through the winter and coming in, development of the car, and now being able to take the battle to a 2-time world champion and his 4-time world champion teammate and catch and pass them, as you say, that gives you a huge amount of confidence. Now Lopez has taken half a second out of Katzberg on the last lap.
Is Katzberg now trouble with his tyres?
Well, he is, and Lopez is just deciding not to talk on the radio and get on with driving what's left of his car. And he may not yet have given up any chance of winning this. He might suddenly be starting to think, I can get to that ladder. I've got another 2 laps after this. I can do him.
Yeah, and Huff's starting to drop back a little bit. And I have to say, Van Muller's been very quiet since he's had that incident earlier on with the Hondas.
Yeah, he's 0.3 of a second off the pace on pretty much every lap, although he's now starting to recuperate and is a second behind Ted Björk, 6th. But he hasn't been able to close, so he's bounced over the grass somewhere and damaged something a little bit, and it doesn't have to be a big bit, it doesn't have to be visible, it just has to have an effect, because these cars are so closely matched. We're talking about, he dropped a massive amount, that's 1/10 of a second. It's 1/10 of a second! It is a massive amount, but it's a tiny amount as well. The gaps, though, are so infinitesimal between these cars.
Well, only have to look at Mach 3, where three cars from 2 brands set an identical time to realise how close it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, although Lada fluffed their run, there was nothing to choose at speed between Citroën and Honda. And that's good news for Montero, and may not be good news for Katzberg, because here comes Lopez. Katzberg has made a mistake, and Lopez is challenging for the lead. Down the front straight, Lopez has got the speed, and Katzberg ran out at the exit of 13 to 14. He is now going to have to defend with everything he can muster for 2 laps. He's got a double world champion with his tail up. Katzberg's running out of tyres and brakes. Lopez is running out of tyres and brakes. It could all fall into the lap of Thiago Montero in the closing 2 laps here in Slovakia.
Yeah, very, very close. The only advantage for Katzberg is that Lopez has been moaning about the brakes, so despite a straight line speed advantage, he might not be able to carry a move off with his brake issue.
Well, Lopez has been moaning, we've heard. Katzberg may equally been moaning, we just haven't heard that particular bit of team radio. Penultimate lap of the main race in Slovakia. The world champion who won the main race in France, Thiago Montero, who was 2nd in the main race in France, are currently chasing the race leader in the yellow Lada, Nicky Katzberg. Never won a race in the World Touring Car Championship, I think I'm right in saying, and he has got the opportunity to now. He's led almost from the start, but has suddenly faded in the last couple of laps, and what was a 2-second plus advantage over Lopez is now down to barely a 2-car length advantage, and at times not even that. But look, Lopez's body language, as Huff gone off, he's run out of something, so Michelitz has moved up 1, Huff has lost 4th, and You saw the body language from Lopez. He was there on the straight defending against Montero, shutting an option for Montero, and that then gives Katzberg again half a second of breath to just draw and try and plan a defence.
Lopez mentally is in attack and defence at the same time at the moment, and don't think he's also got a car that he's not very happy with, so looks like he might get a run on him this time, because the straight line speed of the Citroën is far superior to the Lada.
And the traction is what counts there. He turns inside the Lada. Katzberg comes across the line. If the check flag was waiting, Lopez would have won it, but he goes across the line on the final lap by 0.02 of a second and around the outside. Thiago is throwing everything at this. Now he's got to try and cut back underneath Lopez and Katzberg and see if he can't take the lead from third place. He's got Michelitz right behind him. Montero is in second. It is like the last lap a fortnight ago in Ricard. Lopez lead, Montero is coming, and Norby is trying to get underneath Katzberg. Katzberg on the outside and on the utter limit, and through goes Montero for the moment. But Lopez may have made the critical gap over the chasing pack as they squabble to get by the Lada. Lopez could be on his way to win number 2 of the season. Astonishing, he fell off road, gave away the lead of the race to Nicky Katzberg, who could not have held it, even if it had been the opening race 1 lap shorter. Then Lopez would have won it by 200. As it is, Katzberg now desperately trying to hang on to the final podium spot ahead of Michelis.
And that sequence of corners is why Jose Maria Lopez is a back-to-back double world champion. He's got a car he's not happy with, he's got issues, he's had it mirrors all race, and he's still managed to pass Katzberg, who's now really struggling to hold on to third.
Yeah, Katzberg in third, 3 corners to go, and he is just easing away from Norby. Norby tried to go a long way around the outside, and Norby's going to have to watch out for Ted Björk. Björk suddenly looking ultra racy here. He's been content to follow these guys and wait for an opportunity. The Volvo may be lacking a 10th of a second a lap on the cars in front of him, and Katzberg and Schlitz getting at it for the final spot on the podium. Last lap of the race here in Slovakia. Huge crowd for Michelitz here, and it'll be even huger next week. Lopez is being chased down by Montero, who's not going to catch him unless he goes off. And Katzberg, if he can hold the inside line, Norby is coming, and so is Björk, and Björk's looking for 4th place. Goes inside and around Norbert Michelis, and Jose Maria Lopez wins in Slovakia. I made it.
It's amazing. I don't understand. How you hold on? Oh my God.
Unbelievable. Live reaction as he crosses the line from Jose Maria. He's still going on, I'm sure. What emotion from him. Well, Ivan Muller said after qualifying, the team on the simulator suggest we should be able to take pole after free practice. He said, me and Petito just went, not a chance. And in the end, Ivan did take pole by the tiniest margin, and Lopez there winning by 0.7 of a second for Thiago Montero. A race that looked lost despite the fact that he took the lead into the first corner. He led in the first corner, he led in the last corner, and very little of the space in between. And Nicky Katzberg, third at the line. What a great race for him. Thiago Montero, winner of the opening race, second in the main race. Big weekend, hatful of points for him. Ted Björk, what an opportunist move as well. I did this time, kept his powder drive until the final corner. Got by Norbert Michelis for 4th place. Volvo's best result of the season. The man in the blue car, and it's time for us to catch our breath. Nicky Katzberg, I think, probably equal driver of the day. Thiago Montero has had a great weekend, a win and a 2nd place. He leads the championship by 1 point. Now they need to get their Q3 act together so they can score extra championship points in the final part of qualifying, because Thiago was only 7th in Q2, didn't get through into those top 5 qualifying spots. But from 7th on the grid to 2nd